Hey everyone, Harry here to talk about another explosive story from the Wall Street Journal about the Jeffrey Epstein case. And, they obviously weren't done with all the things they discovered. And this is now turning into really a pretty serious, persistent scandal, but it's a political scandal, which is, I think, significant in what's been going on, at least in terms of how the administration has behaved. The big reveal here is that the administration says that Bondi and Blanche briefed Trump that his name was in the Epstein papers and files. Remember, the whole notion of getting at the grand jury stuff in SDNY is bogus because there was a huge review of a huge amount of material, 300 gigabytes, 1 million plus pages in the 2006 or so area. And that's what is really at issue. And the grand jury thing's a diversionary tactic. Anyway, we now know that in basically contradiction to what Trump said, his name is in it in many places. Basically in contradiction, I say, because there is a exchange outdoors where he could try to say, I didn't quite hear or whatever, where he says, basically, she didn't tell him, Bondi didn't tell him that, but then, switches gears completely to, among other things, the Democrats have really done it, and the like. Okay, so let me cut to the chase just on the meeting in May where they tell the president. First, Trump seems to have lied about it, or damn near, to the country now. We're not talking about any sort of perjury, but he strongly implied she had not told him that he was in the files. Second, and this is really in the category of how the Bondi gang are completely ransacking and ruining the DOJ. There were strict rules in place when the new gang took over that we have to imagine they've just laid waste to, but this would have been completely improper. If there's any kind of ongoing investigation, civil or criminal, and the president is named in it, you cannot tell the president or really and anyone else, oh, hey, you are in this investigation. It's specifically if the president is not a subject or target, and then there are special rules for any possible criminal defendant. You don't just tell the president. It's very clear in black and white. So that she told him looks itself to have been a violation. Now, let's say there isn't a criminal or civil investigation going on. Well, then we're in a much murkier area. There are times when somebody at the DOJ might tell somebody at the White House to include the president, that they've been mentioned. You may recall when Trump was first coming in, Comey told Trump about his being in the Russia files. But that qualified under a sort of national security exception that the president was able to hear it. There is no general exception. And more importantly, there's no general mandate or ability for people at DOJ to just do sort of free-floating political missions. If this is an ongoing investigation, which they seem to have suggested it wasn't, it was flagrantly improper to let the president know about his presence in the file. And if it wasn't, what the hell is it? Why is the Deputy Attorney General going, we're told, to Ghislaine Maxwell's prison where she's incarcerated to talk to her today? If that's, first of all, that it's the Deputy Attorney General, as it supposedly is, although we also, and as does Trump, know him by another name, main defense attorney to Trump, as he was in the New York case. But it is not his job to be the president's lawyer to go to Ghislaine Maxwell and what? And what? The table is set for her to try to do something to reduce her now 20-year sentence. Could they give her something? On what basis? You don't just sort of make a political loosey-goosey negotiation and say, okay, go on and out there and tell everyone, even if you're not suborning perjury, tell everyone that contrary to what in the last few days Epstein's ex-girlfriend has said, one of the victims has said, Epstein's brother said, which is they were thick as thieves, Trump's his wingman, or vice versa. They're total pals, all during the years before, say, 2004. What do you do with it? That is a political issue as of now, and nobody's calling for any kind of criminal or even civil investigation. You could see how one potentially could grow out of it, but to my mind, this is sort of an ultra vires. The deputy attorney general is just turning off the lights in the office where he has all kinds of criminal investigations to do and making a kind of, freelance trip for the reasons that this is the nice way to put it based on what he wrote to the court of New York to uncover grand jury materials. What's going on here? Public interest. We already know a Florida court decided yesterday that doesn't cut it. And if that's the only reason, that it's now in front of a New York court to say, will public interest be good enough to uncover grand jury materials? It's not in the rules. It's not really provided for generally in any kinds of cases. And if it were, think about it, the grand jury protections would be pretty far out the window. But nevertheless, if it's public interest that is the reason for the Ghislaine Maxwell discussions, that is not the job of the Deputy Attorney General or anybody in the Department of Justice. They enforce the laws and they see that they are executed. What law are they enforcing? Okay, so to summarize, because the analysis here, I think people haven't fully fleshed out. But again, if there's a pending investigation, they can't tell the president about it, at least under the previous guidelines, which they've laid waste to, but it would show the complete demolition of an important norm within the DOJ. But perhaps more seriously, if there isn't, they're on some kind of free-roving political mission for Donald Trump, the person. That is not what a attorney general and deputy attorney general are supposed to do. All right, but we're told they're going to the prison to talk to Maxwell. It'll be interesting to see what her mindset is, but obviously she's looking to trade, reduce her sentence, maybe even get a nod and a wink for a pardon when Trump leaves office. All of it is unsavory and sort of law-free. It's just, here's a prisoner who was under, the serious due process and all the other protections, was sentenced to a really serious sentence, that she's going to somehow reduce it because what? Because she does something like tell the public that, oh, pshaw, they weren't all that good friends anyway. What kind of trade or barter is the Department of Justice and the U.S. Making? You take a step back. There are two kinds of potential scandals here for the president. One of his own making is that it's going to turn out that that piece of paper that was part of the birthday album is, of course, what the Wall Street Journal says it is. And it came out this morning, by the way, that there's a copy of that notebook, that special keepsake, apparently in the estate of of Epstein, and so they don't have the only one within the ranks of the FBI. So that's that's a dagger aimed at the heart of Trump's stance in the defamation lawsuit, which is everything is fake. And that's serious, mainly on political grounds, because it is just a flagrant lie and totally went out of the Trump playbook. His first instinct, it's a fake. They made it all up. People understand they didn't. And when that card's turned over, as it almost certainly has to be, he's looking like a total rank liar. That's that specific thing that he created himself in defamation by claiming the whole thing was a fake. And then we also have this very mucky possibility of a relationship coming up. I don't think anyone has suggested yet that there's any, illegal conduct by Trump, or even that he's sort of, a customer, just that they're big pals. So that's a political issue, but given the vehemence of the MAGA crowd for figuring out what happened and for their conviction that Epstein's the key to all this deep state control and pedophilia, and this is their number one issue now, and it's not going away. So what the Maxwell stuff now portends is a proof of, did Trump know him this well or that well or that well? And that, again, matters, I think, on a political level. We also now see the Dems with some support from the Republicans having given a subpoena for the FBI files. But that's about a very sort of mucky notion of how close was he with Epstein. He could easily have said, and because it's true that they broke things off in 2004, Trump has suggested it's because of Epstein's tawdry morality. It's really because of a real estate deal gone sour. But what are the prospects for that kind of mess as things are revealed if he has a big role, short of, being an outright pedophile? If he has some big social role, is that a continuing kind of political scandal? Maybe, because we see that that's the focus of MAGA, but it's not, and it shouldn't be the focus of the DOJ to help sort of clean up. So Ghislaine Maxwell interviews today. We'll see what she's asking for. There's obviously built-in bias. On that level, the administration is just looking to kind of quell the political furor so far. Not so good. It won't be an easy mission in the sense that Maxwell might not play ball. And even if she does, she might not have, she's got obviously bias because the administration can at least offer to help her. It strikes me again, it would be untoward, weird. You give a political hand up to the president and will try to reduce your sentence. That's just not law enforcement. A pardon at the end of the day, and of course he's been brazen about them. That's a possibility, but I think that would also have a political impact. Anyway, that's where things stand now with Maxwell and Epstein and this mess that is not going away. You have the Wall Street Journal defamation level, but you also now just have how mucky ugly is it in these, again, 1.5 million pages or so. And that's become a real political scrum. And it looks like it's going to stay that way for some time, because it doesn't seem likely that you're going to all of a sudden have an open hand on all this material. And yet, Journal and others have little drabs, right? It's the notebooks in the estate and the obviously follow-up information that the Journal had, all of which is to say, at this sort of more amorphous political level, was he a sort of real big pal and wingman of Epstein or not? I think this shows no signs of going away soon. Talk to you later. Thanks for tuning in. If you enjoyed this video and other Talking Feds content, please take a second to like and subscribe. Talk to you later.